This is the entrance to the darkroom. When you go into the darkroom, you have to go through the zigzag hallway. This hallway prevents light from entering the darkroom from the outside. Normally, when you come into the darkroom, the lights are turned off and it is very dark. We do have red safety lights, which you can see above on the ceiling. We have one in the center of the darkroom and another one at the entrance. This is what it looks like when the lights are off. Your eyes will adjust in the darkroom and soon it will seem very bright. Because the safe lights have an orangey red tinge to them, colors do not look how they would in regular daylight. But as you can see, you can still fairly see each Enlarger station, all the equipment within.
So this is the Enlarger. We'll go through the various parts that comprise it. The first thing you should be aware of is the post. This is what holds up the Enlarger. Along the post are different are inch marks. So you'll know, if you look at this arrow, you'll know exactly how high up or how far down your Enlarger is. Right now the Enlarger height is currently set to 12 inches. Okay? To control the height, you're going to use the elevation handle. So that's this right here. This elevation handle will spin in both directions to either raise or lower your Enlarger. Once you get it to the proper height, what you can do is you can actually lock it into place. Now, some Enlargers require this to be locked, otherwise the elevation or the height of the Enlarger will change on you without you wanting it to. Other Enlargers, the height will stay the same whether or not you use this elevation lock. Next up is our focusing knob. Many students can get this confused with the elevation handle. It spins and looks similar to our elevation control. However, this is going to focus your image once you put the film inside the Enlarger. Down here at the bottom of your Enlarger is the baseboard. It's just the base of the Enlarger that holds up the structure, and this is where you will end up placing a variety of things from your easel to the contact printer, paper, so on and so forth. All right, coming up underneath here, there is a little dial. This is called the aperture control. This aperture control spins left and right, or clockwise and counterclockwise. The aperture control controls how much light is coming out of the Enlarger. Right above that are our bellows. As you focus, these bellows will raise and lower, so it's good to know. Also, if you lift up the bellows right here, this is where you'll be inserting something called a negative carrier, which we will show here momentarily. Finally, up at the top, this is known as the housing of the Enlarger. Inside the housing is the bulb that produces the lights. So essentially what's going on in your Enlarger is there's a light bulb that you will turn on for a set amount of time. That light will shine through. The aperture will control how bright or how dim that light is that's coming out. And as that light travels out, you will then be exposing the photo paper to create the final image. Our next piece of equipment is known as the contact printer. A few things to know about this. Number one, and most importantly, is safety when using this glass contact printer. The equipment opens up like this, and as you can see, this is a heavy piece of glass. Whenever using this, you always want to make sure that you are holding it and lifting it by two hands. You never want to hold it on its side with one hand, as these have fallen out of students' hands and broken on the floor. So we want to avoid that. Always hold with two hands and be careful when operating these. Basically what this does is it lifts up. It allows you to place your paper inside here. We use this to make contact prints, which you'll learn about later. It allows then, as you place this down, to force the paper down underneath the negatives so that you get a nice sharp image. To help that, there's a little latch at the bottom that many of these contact printers have. So if you do have one, what you want to do is place the glass down and then put that latch on. That way you're going to make sure it's nice, secure, or securely shut. If your contact printer does not have a latch, that is okay. It just basically means that your glass is heavy enough where when you place it down, there will be enough pressure and the latch is unnecessary.
Also to note, there is not one contact printer for each Enlarger. We have about 10 of them in the darkroom, so sharing is caring. So make sure that if you're using the contact printer and someone else needs it, you're able to give it to them as soon as you're done, or take turns using it.
So the next piece of equipment we want to talk about is our negative carrier. A couple things to notice about the negative carrier. Number one, it's got a number labeled on it. This number corresponds to the Enlarger station you're at. So you'll notice when you're at your Enlarger, each Enlarger station has a corresponding number. We try to label all our equipment to make sure that equipment's not moving from one station to another. So as you can see here, negative carrier number 6 is at Enlarger station number 6. Other things to know about the negative carrier is it carries negatives. So this is where you're going to place your film. You'll notice that this opens up and there's a rectangular opening. What you'll be doing once you have film to make prints of is sliding that film to cover this opening, close it up to secure the film, and then this negative carrier gets placed in between the bellows. So with the film in the negative carrier, you'll open up the bellows, slide this in, and place that shut. When placing it in, it's important that you put the correct side up, as there's a flat side and the bottom side has this circular ridge. So the side with the circular ridge is the bottom side of the negative carrier, and that's going to basically stick in that circular opening perfectly as long as you've got the bottom side face down. The next piece of equipment is the easel. Basically what the easel does is it provides a frame for your photo paper. So what you'll do here is you'll decide which size paper that you want to print. We've got a variety of sizes on this side, and if you flip this over, you've got one large size as well. We'll go back to this original size. When you lift up the frame here, you'll see a bunch of ridges. So for example, if you wanted to make a print of this 5 by 7 inch frame, what you do is you take a 5 by 7 inch piece of paper, place it down on the base, and then slide it up until it hits the top 2 ridges as well as the side 2 ridges. Doing that is going to ensure when you close the frame, you'll get a nice even border all the way around. So now we're looking at the timer. The timer controls how long the light on your Enlarger stays on. So right now, as you can see, the timer is set to 3.0 seconds. You can change that time to suit your needs. There are a couple of dials that are important to know. You can see here this first dial is pointing to 0, second dial is pointing to 3. So as you change this second dial, you can go up to however many seconds you need. Okay, eventually you'll get back to 0. Now if you need to go to 10 seconds, you'll go to this first dial on the left. Okay, 15 seconds, as you would imagine, you can get that way. All right, I'm going to go ahead and set it to 3 seconds for the time being. The start reset button at the bottom turns the light on the Enlarger on. So once you do that, you'll see that the clock counts down and your Enlarger light was just exposing your paper for 3 seconds. So now with the lights off, you can see we've got our easel and we've got our timer set to 4 seconds. So again, when you press that start reset button at the bottom of the timer, you'll see the time wind down and the light on the Enlarger light up. And it automatically will turn off after those 4 seconds. Back to the timer, there will be times where you need to keep the Enlarger light on for an extended period of time, say for maybe 30 seconds, a minute, even longer than that. So you have a couple of options. The first thing that you could do is you can set your timer to a long period of time. So if I just set this first dial to 9, we've got now 94 seconds that the Enlarger light will stay on. The second option, if you want to keep a particular time setting, like if you want to keep it at 4.0 seconds, is a little button down here just below this first dial. You probably can't see it, but it reads M2. If you press the M2 button, what will happen is your Enlarger light will turn on and it will stay on until you go back to this M1 button.